there and hear me too. So, hello, it's Sunday night, right before Christmas. How are we doing? Are we getting excited? I know even if you guys don't celebrate Christmas, there is something you've got to admit about the Christmas spirit. It's so much fun. There's so much energy. I meant to take a picture earlier to show you guys my little Christmas workshop room where I've got everyone's presents scattered around and still have not packed them all, but at least they're all there. And I think I am almost done with my shopping. Yes, I see Alia just joined. Alia, I even have a present for you, my newest brother-in-law. So actually thought about you. So Christmas is coming and I'm excited. And I feel actually today I feel more prepared than I've ever felt in the past. But welcome back to Sunday Night Live. Hope everybody's doing well, feeling well. Health news continues to dominate, right? With this COVID madness continuing, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. I printed my usual list of studies and research and things that we need to talk about. But remember, I'm here to take your questions too. So make sure you post them in the comments. I try to get to what I can during the broadcast. And if I don't get to them, we usually circle back around and try to answer them. But let's start tonight's episode of Sunday Night Live, Christmas week. Christmas only about 4 days away. And we're going to jump into the topic at hand. And I know some of you might be looking forward to this topic or dreading this topic, but the COVID vaccine. You guys ready for this one? How many of you have had or watched or are kind of following the coverage on the vaccine? We know that Europe was the first to, or actually the UK was the first to start the Pfizer vaccine a few weeks ago. The US followed after approval with the FDA, which I believe is now about 7 to 10 days out, if I've got my timing right. And now the Moderna vaccine has been approved as well for COVID-19. My sister, and I still haven't had a chance to talk to her, but my youngest sister actually works in the hospital. She's a resident. So she's had the vaccine, no reactions that I've heard from her. But, you know, it's been interesting to hear the discussion around the vaccine itself. And some people see it as a symbol of hope, and then some people are really scared. But we're going to break down some of this vaccine talk in just a minute. But let's sort of frame the overall picture. We've got two vaccines we're talking about. We're talking about the Pfizer vaccine, and we're talking about Moderna's vaccine. And I'm going to directly read from here in just a minute so that I don't misquote or misstate things. But we'll talk about both vaccines. Pfizer came first. Moderna just got approved as well. Currently, the recommendations are for healthcare workers, so people like my sister, frontline healthcare workers. Actually, both my sisters are in the hospital setting. I have one that's an anesthesiologist and one that's a resident. But they are recommended for those folks, those doctors, those nurse practitioners, your nurses that are going in and risking their own lives as they take care of our very sick. And then secondly, for our elderly, for nursing care facilities, for elderly care, for those sort of scenarios. And then the next group will more than likely be, I heard today, postal workers, teachers. So hopefully we can get our schools open back up. So that's kind of the next group of people to get it. As far as our practice at Center Spring MD, I know so many of our patients join some of these Sunday Night Lives. We are on the list to receive the vaccine, but again, it's going to go to hospitals, some of these other facilities first, and then it will come to us. So that's where just sort of the mechanics of the vaccine stand. Now, many of you have been asking me what my position is on the vaccine, how I feel about the vaccine. Well, it's no different than what I say about all other vaccines, where again, we've got to have these conversations, especially if you are in the high-risk groups, then you know that the vaccine is something you need. Otherwise, your life is essentially shut down, right? So you're confined to wearing the mask and staying indoors and not seeing the people that you love. And I think that has taken an incredible toll on everybody, right? So that's been really hard. Even in this week of Christmas, I've talked to so many of you that are not going to see your loved ones, that are not traveling. And so Christmas is going to look different this year. And that's not sustainable for any of us. I've been very concerned about everybody's mental health and anxiety anyways, and the isolation especially that our elderly face, and now even 100 times more as they can't visit with family and friends. So yes, they need the vaccine, guys. But even Pfizer and Moderna, and I've printed some of their literature on here, even they say if you have historically had reactions to vaccines, allergic reactions to vaccine, well, they want you to wait before you jump into this particular vaccine. So far, over the last week of administering the vaccine, there have been about 5 cases in the United States of allergic reactions, severe allergic reactions, something more than just a little bit of a headache or maybe feeling off for a day, but something bigger or more than that. So again, both companies are saying if you have a history of severe allergic reactions to vaccinations, this is not the time to jump in and get this vaccine. However, if you've got other allergic reactions to foods or environmental allergies, not as directly related to how you're going to do with the vaccine. So potentially that needs to be taken off the table. So that's what they're saying. Now, let's go into these vaccines a little bit, because we're going to go into the ingredients, because it's the ingredients that people have the most questions about and the most concerns about, and that's where they really want to know if they're going to be able to tolerate it or not. But I want to talk about the two vaccines, how they're similar. Let's look at that first. Both of them use mRNA. Someone from Australia, welcome from Australia. I've got a lot of folks from Australia. I think it's incredible. You guys are into wellness and you're into holistic health, and you already live these incredible lifestyles in this beautiful country that I still haven't visited, but it's on my list. But thank you, everybody from Australia who's following along and spreading this message. And we want the message of how your health empowers your overall self and your self-esteem and the decisions you make to be a message for the world, and how each of you need to find your power. But let's stay on track here. So the two vaccines, we've got Pfizer and we have Moderna. So that both vaccines are utilizing mRNA, or messenger RNA, meaning they teach cells to make a protein that is then prompting an immune response. So then asking the immune system to respond. So keep that in mind. Both vaccines have proven to be effective in trials with more than 94% efficacy rates for protecting against COVID-19. They were effective for different races and genders, so they did try to test along those. And some of the side effects and the reactions that they saw in their clinical trials include, they were very temporary for the majority of people, right? So pain at the injection site, headache, fever, fatigue, chills, muscle and joint pain. All right, so that's the difference between the two vaccines. We've got to call another country out. We've got followers from Bangladesh. Hello, how are you guys? Kamanacho, right? My mom speaks fluent Bengali. Unfortunately, I just picked up a little bit here and there, so mine's definitely not as good. But anyhow, so back to this. So I've got this beautiful graph here. I don't know if you guys can see it. I think ABC News had this printed out. But on this graph, it talks about the differences between the two vaccines. The biggest difference is storage. So the Pfizer vaccine has to be stored at a very low temperature, minus 94 degrees. The Moderna vaccine at minus 4 degrees. So that's the difference between the two. Both vaccines need 2 doses. The Pfizer vaccine you can do as young as 16, the Moderna vaccine at about 18. Both of them have similar side effects, so nothing that different there. And then when it comes to the ingredients, these are some of the ingredients, and I actually have it. And a lot of these ingredients are literally there to make the protein more distributable, more, so where it can circulate to where it needs to go. So there are definitely chemicals. The one that's come into the most question is something called polyethylene glycol. So this is something that in pediatrics we've often used for constipation or going to the bathroom or things like that. But polyethylene glycol helps, it's supposed to help with mounting the immune response to the vaccine. There's some debate about that particular chemical, but there's that, it's called PEG. There's a little bit of cholesterol in it. There is, again, I'm not going to say these big names, but then there's potassium chloride, potassium phosphate, sodium chloride, dibasic sodium dihydrate, and then there's also 6 milligrams of sucrose. So those are the ingredients in the vaccine. What we are not seeing are things like egg, which many people are allergic to. We're not seeing heavy metals, which some of us are very concerned about in our world, and the effect that has on the body overall. So some of these are salts and things that are in other commonly preserved items, but those are essentially the ingredients in the vaccine. So I don't know if that helps or not, but here's the conversation around vaccines in general. What we want to keep in mind is that, we want to go into a vaccine prepared. So many people just walk into a vaccine and they're not feeling that great, or, maybe they feel like they're already coming down with something and they go in. Like, don't walk into your vaccine, go in well rested, make sure you have sort of eaten the right foods for you and done all that other stuff. Vaccines become a problem when your phase 1 and phase 2 detox pathways are not working well, or you are overloaded with toxins, right? So that's typically where people start to see issues, more side effects with vaccines. So what we want to do is optimize those areas. So, this is a time to get your rest, get plenty of healthy greens in your system, things like dandelion greens, a green smoothie, doing things for liver support like glutathione and milk thistle. In fact, at Center Spring MD, we have a whole protocol where folks come in and do glutathione, and then the next day or two, they can do, their vaccine, and then they come back in and do another round of glutathione, usually just an injection or a push. And that helps to detox, helps the body handle some of these ingredients and chemicals it might not typically be used to. So especially if you're somebody with MTHFR or methylation issues, or you have a weaker liver, or you have fatty liver, these are some of the precautions you can take before you walk into the vaccine. So for right now, it's healthcare workers, the elderly, nursing care assisted facilities. It's going to then be teachers, postal workers, people again that are with the public very frequently, and then it'll probably move on to the rest of us into outpatient clinics. Children have not been approved for the vaccine yet, so they are not even on the list for the current time, and we'll see what happens to them. Okay, and in general, children have been okay with the vaccine. The greater concern, right, with the schools is, are they going to infect their teachers, right? And we see that concern from the teachers frequently. Okay, Pfizer has, if you wanted it, a fact sheet online with all their ingredients, their authorization, and all the materials about the vaccine in particular. So take a look at that. Again, we don't want to spread, information based on fear and information that is false. We want to be smart and educated and walk that line in the middle to know what is right to do at any given time. So again, we don't, social media is amazing, but we want to use it as a tool for encouragement. So I don't want people going off in the woods talking about side effects and reactions that haven't happened yet. This is what we've seen so far. And again, we'll all continue to stay on top of it as we move forward. I think this is a monumental, just like polio was in its time. We've never had to, as a generation, see the devastating consequences of an infectious disease, right? And so many of the vaccines that are currently mandated, we never even see the illness. We don't even know what it looks like. But in this case, we've watched how this one particular virus is truly shutting us down and impacting our lives globally, economically, financially, all of this other stuff. All right. I see a comment there on London. Do I have anyone from London? What in the world is going on in London? What is this new strain? I'm trying to dig up more information about it. So this takes me then back to where I started with this conversation on COVID, where we have got to protect our immune systems, because like any virus, it can mutate, it can change. We can have new viruses that come into the forefront, but it's our immune response that really, really matters. And our immune response that's going to make a difference in terms of how we respond. What did I miss? You're in London. In London, what's going on with you guys? We want to know. There's this new strain. Apparently, we've got someone from London here. A new strain, apparently, that is very dangerous and aggressive, and we're hearing about it slowly. So just wondering kind of what's happening there. Let's see. We got a couple of people asking to be in. Let's see if we can get them in and see what they have to say. We'll wait for them to join in. But again, we'll take questions. We'll take comments. Curious to know what's going on in London. If you guys know, then please feel free to jump in and educate the rest of us. We are thinking about you guys. Hi there. Are you in London? Where do you live? Oh my gosh, you're not in London, are you? Where are you from? Okay, we're going to let you guys jump off there, okay? Thank you. All right, so looking for anyone who wants to comment on London. Not sure he could even hear me. All right, moving on to some of the studies. No more vaccine questions, correct? Are there any other vaccine questions or questions around the vaccine? Because I'm going to move on to COVID in general. One of the things, oh my gosh, I've got someone from South Africa. Hello, South Africa. So we've got Bangladesh, South Africa, London. Where else do we have? We had someone from Australia. So, hey, it's an international community. How fun is that? Something I've always wanted and wanted to bring the world together. So again, love social media for that reason. Okay, let's talk about something else. How many men are out there watching today? Raise your hand if you can. If you are a guy and you are overweight, some of you might be, some of you might not be, you are at higher risk for complications of COVID-19. So for all of you that are, a little overweight and worried about your health, this should be motivation in the new year to help sort of get back in shape and lose weight. Even shifting your weight 8 to 10 pounds makes an incredible difference when it comes to your outcomes with COVID-19. Okay, so a new study, this is out of the University of Maryland School of Medicine, talking about how the greatest risk factors of mortality from COVID-19 is if you are male, if you are obese, or if you have complications of diabetes and hypertension. So those are things essentially that we want to make sure, that you're watching and that you're keeping an eye on. Okay, so keep that in mind. Moving on from there, now I'm veering off into a completely different world, talking about a study here about, these are different topics. I'm breaking away from COVID here. I hope everybody's okay with that. We're going to veer off and talk about something different. So this is something I've seen in practice, and this fascinates me. So we know that children have developing brains, right? And they're so influenced by their environment. Well, I love this study. This is also from the University of Maryland, saying that low-income preschoolers, get this, after being exposed to nurturing care, had a higher IQ when retested later. Now, I've got some amazing parents in practice, and I'm seeing some of their faces right now, and they have adopted children and taken care of them and devoted their resources to them. And what they have seen as well is that IQ scores jump sometimes 20 points after they receive love and attention, nutrition, and nourishment. All of that to say the brain is responsive and will respond to what we give it. And that in turn is something so motivating for all of us to take care of our communities and to take care of the people around us who may not have as much, and to participate in making sure every child is not hungry, is safe, and in the right home. And we're trying to do that as well, working with different children's shelters and refugee settlements around the Atlanta area, and trying to make my own kids aware of that concept. I think it's really important, to understand that when you're given much, you have a responsibility to help others as well. Okay, so that was on our kids and the potential there. Really encouraging news there. And lastly, last study, and then we'll move away from studies, is talking about your liver. Now, we just talked about the liver when it came to vaccines, right? We talked about the liver and its role in toxicity. The liver is kind of like the laundromat and is responsible for getting rid of all of this stuff. When you are overweight, when you're eating crappy food, when you're highly stressed, your liver can't do its job. When you have MTHFR, the liver can't do its job. So a little bit of a toxin becomes a massive deal. So it's very important to pay attention to the liver. Now, here's a study from the Harvard T. Chan School of Public Health saying that in the liver, a stressed cell is bad news for its neighbors. So one of the biggest things we see with the liver is that it really starts to produce when it starts to wear down. One of the reasons we get belly weight, guys, is that when the liver starts to wear down, it can't do its work anymore, it's stressed, it impairs insulin, which is the hormone we all have that helps us regulate blood sugar. And so when insulin is out of control, then we store belly weight, we store weight around the sides, and then we also have a problem with our hormones and toxicity and all this other stuff. So understanding that we've got to think a little bit harder about the liver. So doing liver detoxes, liver cleansing herbs, all of these things are very important in the conversation around health. And for those of you who might be thinking about restarting your health in the new year and shifting directions, very important for that as well. So thinking about your liver is important, and we want to make sure we're protecting the liver to prevent future complications and disease as well. Okay, that's a lot of science talk. How are you guys feeling about all of that? Let me make sure I got questions. Let's see. All right, people in India, I think I have a lot of folks from India joining. Yes, they said there's a new strain here in London and the numbers are going up. All right, so what do? We protect your immune system. How do you do that? Who remembers kind of the rules? You eat consistently, follow an anti-inflammatory diet, lower your sugar load, sleep at least 7 to 8 hours a night, watch stress because that impairs the immune system, and then optimize vitamins D, C, zinc, and astragalus. Astragalus is my favorite Chinese herb. We know it helps to improve T-cell mediated response, and it helps to take down the viral load. I've got all of this in my immune guide that I attached right up there in stories, and it's in the link on guides. For those of you in Facebook, I've posted a link to that as well today. So check that out again if you haven't looked at it before. But that's sort of your guide, essentially, in terms of protecting your immune system. And then the Defender, right? Do I have it here? No, I don't have it sitting next to me, but the Defender is my product with astragalus, C, and zinc on the eastwestway.com. Again, I made to help us deal with the times and to really support the immune system. So keep an eye on that as well. Okay, a couple of other little announcements and things that we need to talk about. My holiday gift guide is still up. We've got a couple of discounts in there for you guys, so you can use them. If you still are Christmas shopping, check it out. Everything from the Lumen, which helps you with your metabolism and understanding where your metabolism is. Lots of great home gym ideas, so check that out as well. Fitness trackers, there's so much now, right? There's the Dexcom to measure your blood sugar. There's the Aura Ring, which you can wear. There's the Whoop, which many of my patients have been wearing too. All of it giving you data to make sure you're taking care of yourself in an optimal way. All right, so that is up and ready to go. We're still in our prayer challenge. I believe today is day 19 of our 30-day prayer challenge. I'm not posting one every single day just because it gets redundant. And if you have one, then please send one over to me. I'm determined that we walk into 2021 shifting and changing our energy and really hoping for peace here in the United States and around the world as well. And then last but not least, my 10-day Jumpstart begins January 4th. Who's doing that with me? That's our opportunity to cleanse and start the new year in a positive way. The signups are on my site if you go to drtaz.com. If you've joined the tribe, it is discounted. So go ahead and join the tribe. There's a link right there in my bio. Join the tribe and you get discount codes, or just join us for the 10-day Jumpstart. Go ahead and sign up, and we'll start that journey on January 4th. All right, for now, I'm going to go ahead and sign off and hope you guys all have a wonderful holiday week and a very Merry Christmas. And stay healthy, stay well. If you're traveling, travel safely. Here's my quote. I love this one. The darkness of the whole world cannot swallow the glowing of a candle. Remember that as we move forward this Christmas seasons with the blessings upon us. Remember to count your blessings, both here and for those you love. And if you're not with them for some reason, just remember that the human spirit cannot falter and that we are always together in one way or another. All right, Merry Christmas and good night to all. I'll see you guys soon.